And my next guest, with the support of the Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, is preparing investigations into the political bias at the FBI that targeted President Trump. Joining me now is the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Lindsey Graham. All right, Senator, on the theme of repercussions, in both of these cases, can we expect the DOJ's full involvement?
Yeah, I think so. I think Bill Barr is a man of the Department of Justice. This has been his life's work, and I think he's very disappointed and concerned by the way the FBI handled the FISA warrant application, the counterintelligence investigation, and he's going to be very supportive of looking to find out how this got off the rails.
A lot of folks, when they approach me, I'm traveling around the country, I'm sure you get the same thing. People say, how does Hillary's people, how do they manage to smash BlackBerries? How do they unmask all of these Americans with probably dubious reasons? Right. How is the UN ambassador unmasking, like Samantha Power? Like, how is this all happening? There's never any repercussions. But what do you say to them just on that score?
Well, one, let's find somebody to prove that it did happen we all trust. You know, Mueller, I stood behind him because I thought he was a fair guy. A lot of people on our side thought he was in a witch hunt. I didn't, quite frankly. But the president's been vindicated. Let's take somebody like Mueller to ask these questions. Did they get a FISA warrant by using compromised, bogus information?
Well, they did, didn't they?
I think so, yeah. But let somebody other than Lindsey Graham and Laura Ingraham say it. Let's find somebody of the stature of Mueller to look at the other side of the story, because if they find something, I want people to believe it's based on the evidence, not politics.
Is Bill Barr now looking into the possibility of appointing another special counsel?
I am urging him for one simple reason. This is an emotional event. Most Republicans believe they were out to get Trump. Most people think that Strzok and Page and McCabe and Comey wanted Clinton to win and Trump to lose, and they took the law in their own hands. If that's true, it's horrible. Let's find somebody that can tell us if it's true, take the appropriate action. I think it's very important to have a Mueller-like figure.
Well, I know what you think, that, but you've had conversations with Barr. I know you had dinner with him the other night. Is he approaching that decision? Is there a timetable in which he'll make that decision?
I think he's going to look at what happened, and the question for him, should it be me and the professionals here inside the building, or should I get somebody outside the system? It's not a question of how, if he looks, it's how he looks.
Well, they're attacking him now. They're trashing his credibility on the left. They're saying that he's just a political actor, that Mueller shouldn't have trusted him to make that obstruction decision. I've never heard of someone who is a Bush attorney general. Everyone's, elevating the Bushes now for a variety of reasons, but I've never heard anyone attack Bill Barr in his professionalism until the left got into their multiple stages of grief here.
Well, so like Adam Schiff has become the new Oliver Stone of the House. There's nothing will ever satisfy them. Bill Barr is one of the greatest people to ever serve in the Department of Justice, highly respected on both sides of the aisle until Trump got to be president. The point I'm making is, let's have somebody that maybe we can find, like a Mueller, to look at the other side.
Now, let's talk about a man who you probably wouldn't recommend take over this investigation, Jim Comey. He was on NBC Tonight. Yeah, he was last seen gazing up at the redwoods. Looked like a lineup to me, Lindsey. Anyway, so he was on NBC Tonight commenting. Let's watch.
If there are questions that haven't been answered in the hours and hours and hours of testimony I've given, of course I'll answer them. I want it all done in the light of day, though. No more secret depositions. Public hearings serve the public interest. And so if there are questions to be asked about how we handle this investigation or any other, let me know when you want me.
No, he's ready.
Okay, so one is going to be in public, and I'm going to give you a heads up. But one of the questions I'm going to ask you, did Bruce Ohr tell you you shouldn't trust Christopher Steele? And how much time and attention did you put into verifying the dossier before you certified to the court that it was reliable? So there you go. Think about it. Come to the committee here soon, and you'll give me the answer in public. You will testify, my friend, in public, not behind closed doors, and you will answer for your time as FBI director.
Now, I want to get your take on another event that happened to one of your former colleagues, Senator Joe Biden. Now, he seems poised to launch a presidential bid,
right.
But like a lot of the Democratic candidates, he has to say he's sorry about a lot of what he did. Now, here he's attempting to apologize for how Anita Hill, my old boss Clarence Thomas, confirmation hearings. Let's watch.
There are a bunch of white guys. She faced a committee that didn't fully understand what the hell it was all about. To this day, I regret I couldn't come up with a way to get her the kind of hearing she deserved.
He's a good guy. If he's not proud of the life he's lived, why should we make him president? I mean, if you really have to apologize for most of the things you've done in your political life, why should we pick you for being president?
But I think his comment is actually racially charged. And when I say that, I think by saying if it's a panel of white men, you can't be fair.
Here's Joe's
What is
problem.
that? That is judging someone based on race. I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
The problem is that the party of Joe Biden's dead, and he's trying to find a way in the new party. In the new party, you have to apologize because if you're a white guy, you can't possibly be fair. This is what's going to undercut him because I like Joe Biden. I like the real Joe Biden. I think he's been wrong on policy, but what he's doing now is putting in question whether or not he's authentic. Do you really believe he thinks that this apology is sincere? Or is he just trying to position himself for political advantage? I think he's apologizing to get an advantage in a crazy primary.
Lindsey Graham, it is so great to see you. Don't be a stranger. Thanks for staying up late.
James Comey, talking about his firing from the FBI tonight, says he sees potential obstruction of justice by the president, but also says all Americans should be gratified by the no collusion conclusion. Let's bring in Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume for reaction. What do you think about all the fallout the last couple of days as people are now putting their own spin on the Barr letter and the Mueller report?
Well, people don't seem to know whether to try to spin the Barr letter or to denounce the Barr letter. My own sense about that, Shannon, is this. I think we'll probably trust the Barr letter as being an accurate representation, and broadly speaking, of what is in the Mueller report. For this reason, first of all, Barr as a guy didn't need this job. He's got, had a long career. He's been Attorney General before. He has a good reputation. I don't think he's going to put that reputation at risk for some to spin a report whose contents are going to become known anyway.
Right.
I mean, that would be an act of insanity. So I don't think that people who are pinning their hopes on that ought to keep those hopes up very high.
The former FBI Director Comey also had this to say about what the Mueller report does to shed some light on the FBI.
It establishes, I hope, to all people, no matter where they are on the spectrum, that the FBI is not corrupt, not a nest of vipers and spies, but an honest group of people trying to find out what is true.
Is that the way you see the report?
I don't know how much the report is going to have to say about the performance of the FBI. It seems to me that's in the hands of others right now. But that wouldn't necessarily be the conclusion I would draw from the outcome of this investigation. I think that by and large that is true about the FBI. But James Comey and those who work closely with him do not fit that description, in my opinion. I mean, that's, there's a bunch of people got fired and with good reason. And Comey was one of them. So, I suspect he may hope that because he thinks if people start thinking that, they may think better of him.
Well, we're still waiting on the Inspector General's report about what was going on with some of these FISA applications and some other things. So we're waiting on that. But in the meantime, across town at the CIA, John Brennan was the CIA director for years. And Rand Paul said today this. He says, breaking, a high-level source tells me it was Brennan who insisted that the unverified and fake Steele dossier be included in the intelligence report. Brennan should be asked to testify under oath in Congress ASAP. And a lot of folks say if that's the case, he immediately gave credibility to the dossier as the CIA director by including it in that intel assessment.
Well, I don't doubt that. But Brennan's problem now is, it seems to me, is that he has exposed himself as such an ardent Trump hater. And, his projections about this, his read on how the Mueller investigation was going to turn out, has turned out to be, both those things have turned out to be all wrong. And he's had now at least to acknowledge that it turned out he thought there'd be more than there turned out to be. Well, no kidding. And this man Brennan behaved like no other former intelligence chief I've ever seen behave. I mean, I cannot imagine, for example, William Webster, who headed both the FBI and CIA at one point, ever making the kind of partisan accusations he's made against his president. He called him a traitor.
Yeah, treasonous behavior.
Yeah, I mean, treasonous behavior. That is an extreme assertion that no responsible former intelligence chief should make unless he is prepared to present hard evidence that it's true, which he manifestly has not.
Okay, so obviously the issues with collusion were not proven. The special counsel says no one connected to the Trump campaign. We didn't see it according to the Barr letter. And as you said, he'd have no reason to mischaracterize it because he knows the rest of this is going to come out. But for a lot of Democrats, That's off the checklist now, and it's on to impeachment. And some of them today are continuing. The leadership doesn't want them to talk about it. They're continuing to talk about it. Congressman Al Green, Democrat from Texas, they've already voted a couple of times on his impeachment plans. Here's what he says.
A president does not have to commit a crime to be impeached. We have, unfortunately, allowed some persons to conflate what the special counsel was doing, what Mr. Mueller was doing, with what the House can do.
Yeah, a much lower level than making a legal case on the issues.
Well, in the end, impeachment is a political question. But it's also the case, Mr. Green notwithstanding, that the Constitution speaks of high crimes and misdemeanors. So that's the reason why people sort of get the idea that you have to commit a crime in order to be impeached as president. It's not true. A high crime for Congress is for impeachment purposes, whatever Congress says it is. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of where we are. Let me make one other point, though. Not everybody's given up on collusion.
That's true.
Adam Schiff is still banging on about it, and is tonight. Mm-hmm. And, you know, people keep asserting, well, what Mueller found was that what Trump didn't rise to the level of a crime or that he couldn't make the case. That's not exactly what the summary said. The summary said he didn't find any collusion. He didn't say any criminal collusion or anything else. Mm-hmm. It said no collusion. And there's a quote from the Mueller report: did not find cooperation, collaboration between Trump.
Despite repeated attempts.
Yes, and it went on to say that the Russians had tried to seduce the Trump campaign and failed. So that's pretty definitive.
That doesn't mean the search for other possible trouble for the president will end here. So that's the next chapter that we go into. In the meantime, Britt, always great to have you.
Thanks, Shannon. Glad to be here.